Paul, that bourbon guy, down here in my whiskey warehouse. Let's find a bottle. Let's go with the latest from Maker's Mark, Cellar Aged 2025. Hey, I'm back in my whiskey warehouse, and today wanted to go through and have a comparison as well as a mini review on Maker's Mark, their cellar aged releases. So I happen to have with me all three of the releases that they have produced thus far: 2023, 2024, and 2025. Let's get into this. The story of Cellar Aged. Prior to 23, they never put an age statement on any product of theirs. So they always felt that their product is aged to taste and not to a specific year. That way they have a greater variety in the age of the bourbon, but they're always going against a similar profile. Now that profile, sometimes it only takes 6 years, sometimes it can take 8 years, could be a mixture within. Don't know, but they would never release an age statement. And it was basically the pressure from social media and probably from a lot of fans and a lot of followers of saying, hey, why don't you release something that's aged just a little bit longer than they normally release. And that's what came out with these Cellar Aged series. So it all started here in 23 with their first Cellar Aged. And it states basically this is a special blend of barrels. So it's not a single barrel, it's a small batch, as it were. So this one happens to be 13% whiskey aged for 11 years and 87% whiskey aged for 12 years. This was a phenomenal hit. Everyone went crazy for it. Was fetching a pretty high price on secondary marks as well. So that was for 23. Now in 24, they decided to basically up the age just by 1 year for each of them. So now it's 15% aged for 12 years. The 11 years is gone. 85% aged for 13 years. Now, there's been some controversy of saying some will still prefer the 13 over the 14, although I have a couple friends of mine who will insist that 24 is better with that extra age and a little more oakiness to the whole program. Now, this year, they have released the 25 release, and they did something different now. They're reintroducing the 11 year. So 74% of the whiskey that's in here is aged only 11 years versus the others now 10% aged 13 years, 16% aged 14 years. So there's still that 2-year age progression. So 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, but they're coming back and introducing 74% of it to being back to an 11 year. So I'm curious on how they all stack up, which is why I have now brought out my solo blind. So I happen to have all three that have been equally poured in here, and I've got labels and tags and everything else. So I will not know which one is which. As you can see, I can spin everything around. Now, to make sure I'm not being biased with anything, I will close this down and I'll still spin everything below. So I will not know what order any of these glasses are in. That way it'll be as fair as possible. Now these are all fresh cracks. I did a little short showing you the fresh cracks of all of these. So they're all have equal opportunities of neck pours. They're all sitting there and opening up for the same amount of time. So I think this is probably about as equal as it's gonna get. All right, so I've done my spinning. I have my glasses. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to set them out in no particular order because I don't know what they are. And now I've got 3 glasses to work on. Leave this off to the side, 2 over here, 2 over there, and I've got my 3 glasses. Now the tasting and the comparison can begin. Start off with my left will be your right. All of them have equal in color. Beautiful nose on this. So picking up some of that cherry notes, sweet oak, some caramel, maybe a little bit of fruit to the whole thing as well. Yeah, very nice. That's good. I'm just going to work off the nose right now, but excellent legs, even for the little spinning it's done in the turning around from what I get into the glass. Nice. Let's go for the second glass. I say a little bit less sweet oak on this, so it's probably a little bit younger. Still going to get a little bit of that fruit note out of this. Some caramel as well. Not getting much on the cherry notes, more just fruit notes. And I'm not picking out any specific fruit. It's kind of like a blending of stone fruits. Kind of like one of those all-season jam type things that you get at restaurants. Okay, it's not bad. Let's try the third one. Okay. Not getting the, again, none of the sweet oak that I was getting off the first glass. Very similar to the second one. It's got that fruity note to the whole thing. Some caramel. Maybe a little bit of vanilla this time is coming in on this one. Yeah, that's about it. So before we dive into the taste, let's also do a check on the proof points. So the 23 release is coming in at 115.7 proof. The 24 release is 119.3 proof, so a couple points higher. And the 25 is coming back at 112.9. So the 23 is the lowest proof at 115, followed by the 25 release, and the highest proof being the 24 release. All right, nosing wise, let me go back and do another round here. Yeah, I'm definitely more of a sweet oak note to the whole thing. Makes me think this is a 24. So even though the 25 has older juice in it, the majority of it is actually an 11 year compared to these other two. And I think that's what's showing up here is the higher concentration of older liquid. Okay. Check that second one. Yeah, it's just lighter, just a lighter note. Fruit's there, but everything else is a little bit lighter. And this last one, it's equally light. Now, could it be the proof that's influencing me? So we all know the second one is also of the higher proof, 119 versus 112 versus the 115. I mean, we're not going very far in proof points here, single digits. So I'm not going to be that concerned between the age of difference in proof. I think where it's coming into is going to be the percentage of aged bourbon that's been mixed in with everything else. I'm thinking the 24 is going to come in a little bit darker than the others. So If I was to choose just based on nose alone, I'm going to go with my first glass here. It's just a better expression in the nose. So we'll see how that plays out. Taste is where it's important. So let's get into this. Let's start with the first one. Very nice, very pleasant. That cherry note now pops through. Definitely mid palate to the finish. It's carrying over. Sweet oak, caramel, some vanilla to the whole thing. I'm getting a little bit of spiciness around the edge of the palate on the outside of the mouth. It's not burning, so I think proof, let's just throw proof out the window here. I'm not that good to distinguish single digits, but it's good. It's giving me a little bit of a Kentucky hug. Granted, this is my first drink for the night, so take that for a grain of salt, but very nice. Okay, second one. See what this is like. Sweeter to the taste on the front end, so more caramel up front. Transitions into a vanilla, then finally a finish in a cherry. So I don't know if really that the oakiness is popping through on this, so I would say it was probably either a 23 or a 25. That's just a guess here. I'm still thinking the first one may be the 24 with just a little more punch out of the oakiness. This is a nice, well balanced bourbon. It's an easy transition from one note to the next. Nothing harsh, nothing bitter. Very pleasing both on the beginning and even into the finish. Not bad. Let's try this last one here. Sweeter still. Interesting. So that's not bad. Man, it's going to be very close to the second one. It's going to be hard to distinguish between the two. I may have to go back and do a second change or a second visit, which I think I will. But right now, just from what I got on that expression for the first sip, the sweetness, the caramel, maybe more vanilla forward than caramel forward. Transitions more into the cherry, about halfway in the back of the mid palate to the finish. Not getting the spiciness around the outside edges that I did with the first one. First one was a little more punchy. Kind of curious on how that's going to compare against the second one, so I am going to bring that second one back out. More caramel on the second one. And that is a sweet finish all the way through. I can't complain with that one. That's just a nice, easy sipper. Could be considered almost a crushable bourbon. Yeah, you could have a nice long evening with a nice full glass of this and be a very happy person. So if I go back to this one, more vanilla. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. So vanilla, caramel, both sweet, both easy drinking. Maybe a touch of bitterness on the very finish on this last one. So be on your left, my right. Only so slight. I only catch it at the tail end. I don't catch it anywhere else. The middle one, sweet from beginning to finish all the way through. If I come back to the first one, it feels a little more amped up on the notes. So the cherry is coming forward, the fruit is coming forward more on this first one. I'm definitely feeling a little more spiciness, maybe a little baking spice. I'm not going to call it peppery. I'm just going to give it kind of a baking spice towards the back of the palate and the finish, and that pepper or that spicy note is lingering on the back of the palate for a while. So that's interesting. Now, really, if you have a chance of getting any of these, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. If you like Maker's Mark and what they produce, some of those wood finishing series, can't get enough of them. Those are really great. BEP that they had about 2 years ago, probably one of my favorite ones that ever came out. I'm happy with the Lost Recipes that they just came out with, so I'll probably do a little review on that one of this year's and last year's release. They're both based on the mocha, playing with the different stave finishes. So we'll get into that in a little bit in another video. But for now, with the Cellar Aged, if you have a chance, if you don't have one, and if you can find one at a bar, as long as it's not terribly overpriced for the pour, it's worth having a pour. I think you'll find it to be very enjoyable, very flavorful, very relaxing. It's good. So now it comes time for the decision of which would I choose. Now, if I'm out for more of an experience in adventuring of more intense flavors, this left one would be the one that I'd want to pick. If I don't want that spice, that baking spice in the finish, and I just want that nice, gentle, mellow, sweet finish from beginning to end, this middle one is the winner. Although this one over here on my right, man, that's a close call between these two. They are so close to one another. So if I had to put a guess on everything here, I am going to guess that this happens to be the 24 release. This would happen to be the 25 release. And I think this one will fall into being the 23 release. If I have to pick one for right now, I am going to pick this one here in the middle. This one would be my number one pick. And just to add a little more fun to it, a little more spice would come in as my second pick. And then finally, this would be my last pick. So it's time to really reveal the tags, figure out what I did. Starting with last place, third place. Really, nothing's last here. They're all good drinks. So that one, that one turned out to be the 24 release. I am totally surprised by that one. So that will come in, I'll put it here, 24 release. Second place, wow, is the 23. I did not expect that to be as spicy as it was, which then means, to confirm, yep, this last one happens to be the 25 release. So, at least for tonight, again, these are all fresh cracks. They've sat for the same amount of time, blinded through my solo blind, and it's just coming out. The 25 is on top, followed by the 23 release, and then finally by the 24 release. But if I was to be fair in expressions, I would say the 25 and the 24 are very close to one another. It's just that there's a little hint of a little tannin on the very tail end of the end of that drink, versus the 25, nice, smooth, easy fit from beginning to end, more heavy on the caramel, a little bit of cherry to the notes, a little bit of light of stone fruits that are blended in. Nothing off-putting, no spices, none of the baking spices I was getting out of that one, whereas I was getting baking spices out of the 23 release. So there you have it. That is the Cellar Aged releases that came out from Maker's Mark. Let me know what you think about Maker's Mark and their Cellar Aged program. Have you had any of them? Have you had all of them? Have you done your own comparison? Maybe you've compared the 23 and the 24. That's also a good comparison between the two. Can't complain. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe. I've been checking on the stats. About 80% of you like watching the show, but please hit that subscribe button. It will help with the formula and the stats that YouTubers and whatever those guys are doing out there. It just helps with the program, and it just helps me to help making you more content. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed to it. Subscriber rate is going up. Thank you very much. Appreciate your help and support. So again, comment down below. Let me know what you think. And until next time, if anyone asks, tell them you heard it from that bourbon guy.